Welcome to week 12. Remote users. As you know, the world is changing. Remote users want to, employees want to work from home. It's more convenient for them, cuts down on their commute time. It also reduces the amount of time in the office, which also helps the company, as long as everyone's secure. So that's what we're going to talk about. How do we secure that remote user to make sure that only he or she can get in, that all the data they send back and forth is secure? So that's what we're going to be looking at this week. So we're going to cover the mobile workforce, how it's growing. How do we change that access to ensure that they only get what they need? We're going to look at VPNs and some other protocols. So I can tell you, as the millennials get into the workforce, most of you are probably there. You don't want to go into work. My son works in New York City. He lives in New Jersey. He stays home at least one day a week. Snow, bad weather, anything, he stays home. He just moved a little further away. So what he's done for his commute, he gets up in the morning, logs in at 7 a.m., works for 3 hours, then goes in after rush hour, takes him less than an hour to get in, which is normally a 2-hour commute. He works in the office for a few hours. After rush hour, he leaves. So he's created his own work hours. But how do we make sure that, is he using his computer? Is it allowed on the network? Is it the company's computer? Does it have the right access, the right updates? And that's some of the things that we want to look at. So we're going to take a look at all this information. We're going to look at what a radius server is, the different remote accesses, radius, RAS, terminal access, and VPN. Each one is slightly different. Each one has unique things, but they all have something in common. How do we go about getting them on the system? We have to identify the user. So it's either log in, certain username that allows it with a password. Authentication. Are we going to make sure that who is there has access to what we need to get to? And then authorization. After we identify them, after they're authorized, then we give them access to only the area they need. Again, this is just like in a previous chapter. You only get access to the areas you need. You don't have full access to the systems. You have limited access, whether it's just an application, whether it's just a directory, or whatever you need. So we limit to what type of application there is that they're going to have. So the radius, or remote authentication dial-in user access. We're going to take a look at that in detail. Basically, it's a client-server protocol that allows authentication and authorization for remote users. And basically what it does is it just allows someone to get into the network, to have access to the NAS, with network access server, and it provides them with the security that they need. Whether you dial in from a wireless access point, a VPN, or a dial-in service, they can all go through the radius server. And that radius server will check to ensure that you have the authentication that you need and limit the access that you can get to, but it gets you onto the system. The other one we're going to look at is remote access server, and this provides authentication for remote access in the internet or dial-up. This is a little more specific. It's not as wide range as the radius server, but it's very specific. And what it does is it makes sure that you have the appropriate access to when you need it. This is coming through the internet. And the other one we're going to look at is the terminal access control systems. This is a Cisco protocol that was developed to control dial-up lines, or high-speed internet. Again, it has the same, all three of them use the same: authentication, authorization, and accounting. Accounting keeps track of who's on the server, what are they doing. They might only have access during certain hours. They might have access during the day. But also some IT departments could bill out this information. So, some IT departments can bill out the use of a server. This way it allows them to collect some money, at least on paper. Obviously, they don't transfer money. But it keeps track of it. So you can say if your salespeople are using it, accounting's using it, you can bill a certain department. The other thing we're going to look at is VPN, virtual private network. Again, what this does is it punches a hole through the internet. It allows it secures everything in there so no one can get to it. Just think of putting a pipeline through the internet. No one can read what you have. So it uses a point-to-point tunneling protocol. There's a couple other ones, but that's the most useful one. access control for support. So what are we going to do? What is our company policy for letting them on? And we're going to look at that. So basically, we looked at you're going to study the different types of technologies, how they work, and what they're doing. So we're going to take a look at that. So what do we have due this week? Let's take a look. So you're going to have a reading week 12. You're going to have your discussion question, your weekly paper, and your quiz. Also, if you take a look at your lecture notes, you'll see the PowerPoint presentations there, along with the original PowerPoints. Also, there's a video on remote working. Revolution has arrived. So you can take a look at that and watch it. If you want to comment on it, you comment it on in your discussion questions. It counts towards one of your replies to your classmates. It does not replace your initial reply. So this week, your assignments. Take a look in your assignments folder. You have your discussion question, your weekly paper, your quiz, and don't forget your journal. So your weekly paper, your discussion question, which remote authentication offers the best protection and why? Your paper is 2 to 3 pages. Discuss both advantages and disadvantages of a remote authentication protocol. You can pick any one that you want, but look at what works and what doesn't. You have a journal. What did you learn this week? And you have your quiz, Chapter 12 quiz. That is all up. It is due by Sunday night. Also, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate. You can either email me or use the student question link down below, and I will be reviewing that. And lastly, you always have what made you smile this week. Remember, I know everyone's working and busy, but take a second and say, oh yeah, I did this weekend, or I did this during the week. Having that cup of coffee in the morning made me smile. So that is what we have on tap this week. So enjoy the rest of your week and remember to smile. So, week 12 wrap up. We had an exciting week. We learned about remote users. Woohoo! Remote users are something that's happening. It is a growing thing that we as IT professionals, we need to make sure that all our remote users are secure. Whether they're dialing in from home, whether they're traveling, they're dialing from a hotel, a restaurant. How do we ensure that they are there, that no one can get in and compromise our data? So we took a look at the Radius server, which allows us for multiple types of logins, whether it's a VPN, a wireless point, or a dial-up. It allows all different kinds of information. We reviewed the RAS. RAS is remote for access through the internet and dial-up. So it's slightly different, but it allows that access into it. We had the terminal access control, which was a Cisco protocol. And again, it's mostly primarily used for dial-ups and internet. No matter what type of system method we use, you always have to have authentication, authorization, and those two are mandatory. And then we have the accounting process. Accounting is how long that person's been logged in. So we can use that for different purposes. Are they staying logged in too long? We can limit when they're logged in also. So if they're only supposed to work 8 to 5, we can limit that. If it's a consultant, he's only can be on for 3 hours, we can limit the time that they have on there. Can also use it for billing purposes. That's what we used to do where I worked. We let the person log on, they'd log in, and then we'd bill X amount of time to that department so that they knew where their employees were working. And the managers used it to say, hey, this person's logged in for 3 hours, they're supposed to be 5. So there's some other things with that accounting that's useful. Now, can you tell if they're working? Well, that's a different issue. We're not going there. That gets in that whole behavior thing. But I could tell you it's becoming more and more common for workers to log in from home. With high-speed internet technology today, there's almost no need to go into the office. Companies can get smaller office spaces, save them money. You use your, then you get into the whole thing. Are we using their computer, or the company's computer? So we have a couple different things that we looked at. And of course, we looked at VPN. It's been around since the 90s. And it's very commonly used nowadays. It punches a hole through the internet and it secures our data. Some best practices we looked at. How do we determine what security level we need? What is the options for that? Appropriate level authentication. Let's see, what else? Accessing the network and ensuring protection. So those are the things that we looked at for week 12. Also, you had your quiz due. You had your discussion question this week, you had your weekly paper this week, a quiz, and your weekly journey, so 4 items. So, Don't forget to ask me any questions. Email me if you're late with anything. Please notify me in advance. And remember, ask yourself what made you smile this week. Have a wonderful day.